We guiding you through the middle of your day with facts, fodder, and fine music. And starting off the program this morning, Congressman Trent Kelly. Good morning, Congressman. Thanks so much for calling in.
Good morning, Gerard. Glad to call in. Always love to be on SuperTalk.
Yes, sir. So I got to start with this incredible paradox we had last week. Joe Biden is sipping champagne, metaphorically speaking, on the south lawn of the White House there, sir, while at the same time the Dow is falling nearly 1,300 points, and they're celebrating what should be an economic achievement in terms of public policy, this so-called Inflation Reduction Act. How tone-deaf can we be here?
It is amazing how tone-deaf they are, whether we're talking about inflation, him sitting up there taking a celebration lap while the stock market is crashing. I mean, people can't afford to go to the grocery store. They're having to decide between an electric bill and buying groceries for their children, real wages. It is amazing, and that's not even talking about the border and all the other things that they're tone-deaf on until people start showing up on their doorsteps, and then it becomes a crisis. Hundreds in Martha's Vineyard are issue, yet tens of thousands in Texas aren't an issue for these guys. They're just tone deaf.
It is truly unbelievable, and certainly, as you point out, Congressman, the hypocrisy that's on display here with respect to Martha's Vineyard and, of course, Washington, D.C., with Mayor Muriel Bowser there. These are the same people that were all about open borders and humane, so-called humane treatment, and just absolutely blasting the prior administration. The White House press secretary, as recent as Friday, still doing that, still pointing to that and how they've cleaned all that up and fixed it. Why are they opposed to helping out? If you are for open borders, shouldn't you want to help out and help these people that are seeking asylum?
Well, they want other people, but remember, all these are the same cities that were sanctuary cities, inviting them to come, and now they don't want them there. It's like everything else they do. They say one thing, and they do the other. And this Inflation Reduction Act, so-called, that they call it, this is nothing but fueling more inflation, the president's student loan forgiveness, helping out his rich buddies and all those who went to these Ivy League schools, while our hard working class people in Mississippi are not getting anything. It's just a tone deaf across the board, and they're hiring 87,000 more IRS agents to make sure that folks are paying their taxes, and I have no doubt that they will target hardworking small businesses and Republican voters.
Of course, and you know that's the case because there's not enough that they can extract from the people that they think they're going to, or they're at least portraying they're going to go after, the so-called rich people in this country. You know it's going to trickle down throughout all income ranges, and these are the folks that are going to end up being honestly harassed. And isn't that another concern, Congressman? Are we not seeing the weaponization of so much of the bureaucratic infrastructure, if you will, within our federal government, the FBI, the IRS, the DHS, the DOJ? It seems out of control.
We're seeing a weaponization of that, and there's going to be an accounting. Hopefully we'll win back the House in the midterms and the Senate, and there can be some oversight over this. But I'll tell you, they're targeting Republicans. You know, they think they're going to keep us and silence us and muzzle us by threats of indicting every Republican. But I'll tell you, we are going to take them to task, and we're at least going to highlight for the American people the injustices they are doing and the way that they are targeting Republicans.
What's the environment like, sir, in the U.S. House of Representatives? I mean, is there any interest in trying to work together on what might be the handful of common causes? It just seems like we're so polarized on everything.
Other than the funding bill that they will try to pass this week, there is no interest in them on working on anything that helps the American people. Last week we were talking about whistleblowers, which is not really whistleblowers. It's so that their whistleblowers can whistleblow on our whistleblowers and discredit them in an anonymous fashion. They are not worried about anything other than the politics and the election in 2022. And if we don't get our folks out and vote, vote, they are going to take back the House. And if they do that, I'm not sure that our nation can withstand another 2 years of the Democrats in charge.
Well, I share your concerns, Congressman. The Wall Street Journal editorial board published an outstanding article over the weekend, basically going through the details of what is at stake and just how close we are to enacting some ridiculously radical policy, starting with voting rights. That's like number one on the list. They want to get rid of the filibuster so they can ram that through, which would, of course, make mail-in voting virtually at any time the law of the land across all 50 states, essentially federalizing our elections. This is incredibly dangerous.
It is. If you'll remember, that was the very first thing when they took the majority was their H.R. 1, the voting rights thing.
Yep.
And it's not voting rights. It is setting it up so that Democrats win all elections. And, and I have issues when you lead every time until they start counting votes after the election, and every time they get 90% of the votes that are late, and they turn an election from you being 4 points up to being 5 points down. It is crazy. And we just saw what happened in Alaska with this ranked choice voting, where 60% voted for Republicans, yet the Democrat won.
Yeah, in the RCV voting process, and I'm sure you're aware, other states are considering implementing that as well, that structure.
Yes, and so we've got to educate our folks that this is not a good policy. When someone who gets less than 40% wins an election, that is not democracy, and that is not one vote for one person.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. So the other thing that's on their radar is the PRO Act, which would essentially eliminate the choice a worker has on whether or not they want to join a union and a union shop.
Listen, they're always about unions and always trying to do that, and we've seen that in Mississippi. What they want is to take over the workforce and be able to control who works and how much they pay so they can have their cronies get the best jobs and do the least work. And we're going to fight everything that they throw until we can take the gavels, hopefully, in January of next year.
Let's stay optimistic. Let's suppose that Republicans are able to take over the House, the majority of the House. What do you see happening? Might we see any sort of proceedings drawing up impeachment papers for the president, for Garland, Mayorkas perhaps?
I think you'll see some of that stuff. You will see a lot of oversight first to make sure that we know who's done what. So, we're already starting oversight proceedings on our side, but we don't have the subpoena power. So once we get charged, we will bring those folks in, call them to account, and I think you'll see some impeachment proceedings for some of these folks who have abused their power and abused their power of office to take advantage and to use it as a political ploy.
It seems like, unfortunately, it's like the only tool we have to stop this politicization and weaponization of these agencies.
It is. All we can do is do the oversight. We can do referrals to the Department of Justice, but we all know who the Attorney General is. And so until we get another Republican president, it's very unlikely that this DOJ is going to do anything with the referrals that they're going to get from the House. But it's important for the American people to see the wrongdoing that they do anyway.
Yeah, and before we go, you mentioned that you guys are trying to figure out a way to plug this funding shortfall. My understanding is we got about $47 billion we need to complete the fiscal year, which ends here in a couple of weeks, September 30th. What can we expect this week?
Well, I'm sure they'll have something that has a whole lot of things that are not good for America in it. They always do. But the bottom line is, if they can't do this, it's on them. They have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And all of these failed economic policies are on the Democratic Party. Every single one of them.
Republicans would do well, I think, to continue to focus on that as we approach the midterms. In the meantime, the Democrats are focusing on abortion and Trump.
Absolutely, but that's because they don't want people to know how much it costs them when they go to the grocery store, or that our fuel reserves are the lowest point since 1985.
Yes.
They want to distract from what the issues are, but the American people know they are not better off today than they were when the Democrats took charge.
Always good to talk to you, Congressman. Appreciate you joining us, and keep up the good fight, sir.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
You too. Congressman Trent Kelly kicking off Middays here in the Element Wealth Studios. Brand new week We got a lot to talk about today. Stay with us. We're coming right back.